Hello and welcome to another episode of the Leverage Podcast. I am your host, John Davidson, and I'm excited about this episode today. I have Jaimie Skultety joining me. Now, is she a coach? Yes, but she is also a coach of coaches. Many of you may have walked down this road of, hey, I've got an expertise or I've started a business and I see this business coaching industry, maybe something that I could do. Well, here we have Jaimie today to not only tell us how to walk down this road, but to give us some of the insights on what coaches do wrong, what coaches do right, and possibly how you can get in this industry. And we're excited to hear about your career journey as well. Jaimie, thank you for joining me today on the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, first of all, as we get started, please tell me what is Upscale Your Business?
So, Upscale Your Business is a company that I started I started in 2009 as a virtual assistant. I'll tell you a little bit about that backstory. I'm sure we'll get into that. But I transitioned my virtual assistant business into a coaching business and decided to call it Upscale Your Business just because I wanted people to know that this was a leveraged environment, right? So
Yes.
want everything that we do to come across as upscale. And you can think about that in life, anything that you see that looks fine and has that quality to it, that upscale quality. So, yeah, but what I do essentially is, like you said, I coach coaches. I help coaches to systematize and market their business in an effective way.
Fantastic. Well, let's walk through that career journey a little bit. You mentioned
Yeah.
it briefly there.
Yeah.
Take me through how you came from having your VA business and then identifying the opportunity and then starting Upscale Your Business.
Yeah, so I'm going to go back a little bit further because that's an interesting story of how I even started my virtual assistant business. So I worked in corporate for 30 years. I was an executive assistant, and when the economy turned in 2008, 2009, I lost my job, and I also ended up
Well,
losing my house. I had to short sell my home. My husband lost his job the same week I did, so we were really in a bad state. We had a 4-year-old son at the time,
wow.
and a lot of people were losing their jobs and losing their homes at this time. If anybody remembers that time of life,
Yeah.
I had to file for bankruptcy. It was just a big mess. And I consulted with a career coach who suggested to me, I think you should be a virtual assistant. I had a friend of mine suggest that to me about 5 years prior as well. So I was like, there's something to that, and that speaks to me. So I started that business, and I thought, I'm just going to put up a website, and I'm sure people will just find it, and I'll make money from my home, and that'll be really awesome. And it didn't go that way at all.
It didn't. You needed more than just creating a URL that people didn't flock right to you?
That's how I always say it. I thought they would flock to my website, and they did
Yeah.
not. So I really found myself spending my days becoming a marketing expert, studying, joining every networking group, every free training I could get my hands on, happy hour for afternoons, Chamber of Commerce breakfasts, doing all the in-person elbow rubbing and all of
Oh,
that.
yeah.
Right? I hated every minute of it. I realized that I really do love to be at home. I'm not somebody who likes to go out and do those activities. So really out of necessity, I just found myself diving into that and doing anything but being a virtual assistant. Now, I did get a couple of clients along the way, mostly through referrals, and those people happen to be coaches, and they would refer other coaches to me. And that's how I stumbled into the niche. But
Yeah.
I was really stuck on, and this is going to lead to what I do see as a lot of problem in the coaching industry, is that so many coaches are in that mindset of I just will work with anybody that will pay me. I joke around and say anybody with a pulse and a credit card. And I know that feeling. I remember that feeling, and I remember being very resistant to finding a target market, a niche, an ideal client, you name it, an avatar. I felt that was very limiting. And why are you telling me I should turn away business? And what I came to realize, it took me a long time, about 2.5 years of fighting that, realizing that I wanted to be a specialist. I wanted to specialize in helping a specific person. Coaches became my specific person. Yeah.
That's fantastic. And I think that's something that a lot of probably even bigger companies, but especially entrepreneurs and founders struggle with, is there's that feeling of if I'm targeted towards a specific audience, I'm missing out on all of the other people who I could do. And also sometimes when we get into business, we have a multitude of experiences, right? And so there's this attitude of, well, I can do this. I can also do this. I
Yes.
can do this. I can do this. And when we're saying that in our head, or we're saying that to people before they respond,
Yeah.
it seems to us like that's a great pitch, right? What do you need me to do? I can do this. I can do this. The moment I really understood it was when I was looking for a new role at one time. And so I had run a design studio and it started as a two-man shop and it grew into a bigger thing, but it was a startup, right? I did everything on the business side. And so I made this list of all the different, basically the different roles I had, right? The different hats I wore. And I said,
Mhm.
okay, I'm reaching out to clients. So we have sales there. I'm client facing. I'm managing the project. So I'm an account executive. I'm also a project manager. I'm billing the clients, right? So that's AP, AR. I'm doing marketing because I'm doing outreach, and sometimes I'm folding shirts to mail to clients, maybe office manager. I don't know. And I went to a recruiter and I said, "Hey, I'm looking for a new role." And I thought I was coming in like I'm hot stuff,
Yeah.
right? Look at all the stuff I can do. I said, look, I can do all these 11 different things. And he said, John, come to me with one thing.
Hmm.
Because if you come to me with everything, I don't know what to do with you.
Yeah.
I don't know how to place you. And I think it's
Yeah.
similar in business from the standpoint of, I don't know what to do. You do everything.
Yeah.
How does that relate to me? Share
That's
a
what.
little bit about your experience with
Yeah, I
targeting.
love all of that. It's so true. I mean, and I always say, if you're helping everybody, you're really helping no one. And I look at LinkedIn profiles, all day, every day. That's what I do, because I'm consulting with people, and I have to check out their profile. And so many times I see, oh, you're a life coach and a career coach, and that, like, I can help anybody with anything. And I've been in that place because, just like you, I'm multi-talented, and I can take on many different facets of a business. And I
Hmm.
can help anybody. I really could. They don't have to be a coach. If you're struggling in business, I can help you. If you're looking for a job, I could probably help you with that, right? But when I got really specific of exactly who I help, it was very clear. And I always tell the story of the light bulb moment for me. So I'll share that with you, which was, if you think about it, when let's say you're eating an apple and you break a crown in your mouth, right? A dental crown. So you're like, okay, I need a dentist to fix this broken crown, right? So you're scrolling through I'm old enough to remember the yellow pages, right? You're scrolling through all the pages. And then you find yourself at the top left corner of one of the pages in a tiny little ad. It says, "We specialize in fixing broken crowns." And I'll bet you anything that's the dentist you're going to hire, even though any dentist could have fixed your crown. So that's the story I tell, and that's the one that resonated with me. It's not my story. It's somebody else told that to me, and I was like, boy, light bulb moment. Yes, it doesn't mean you have to limit yourself. If somebody comes your way and you can help them, you should. If you want to work with them and you can help them, by all means. We're talking about how do you magnetize people to you. When people see my profile, they get exactly who I help and exactly what I do, and it's clear. So, I always tell people, if you can have multiple target markets, but pick one, like you were saying, pick one to start and perfect your marketing around it. That might be the only audience you need. If you find that that's not the audience for you, then pick one of the other five that you've got. Pick one until it resonates with them and with you.
That's a great point. And, a lot of times we have a limited mindset rather than a growth mindset,
Yeah.
and so if I'm choosing one lane, right, I'm thinking, oh, well, there can't possibly be um, enough business or enough companies or a clientele to keep me going. And number one, you'll be surprised,
Yes.
right? But I've also heard it said from many podcast guests saying, on your business, you want to be an inch wide and a mile deep, right?
Mm.
You want to be the best in the world
Yes.
at that one thing. And then by necessity, based on demand, or maybe you want to get a little more vertical in your business and there's an opportunity there, then, okay, let me add this thing. Let
Yeah.
me add this thing. But you want to start here and grow out rather than I do everything. And
Yes.
I'll tell you, you will inevitably.
I
Sure.
always want to start with the smallest market that you can serve adequately.
Yep.
And then, if it makes sense, then branch out. But you almost want to be seen as kind of like the needle in the haystack. Like, I can't believe you specialize in helping someone like me. And then you get to know all of what keeps them up at night. What are the things that only they would be experiencing? Because if you can solve that problem for them, they will love you. I always say, if you could describe their problem better than they can, they love you, right? They want to work with you.
That's a great point. And then you're working on exactly what you want to do too, right? There's a lot of things I can do, Jaimie.
Yeah,
I don't enjoy doing all of them. I
right.
always use the example of project management. I got my foot in the door somewhere one time doing project management. I was like, I can do this, but it just feels like I'm pulling teeth all day and it's not where I'm thriving,
Yeah,
right? And then when you, it also forces you to truly refine your expertise, I would think, because if you're just focusing on one thing,
yes.
you better be great at that one thing.
So true. So true. So you can really expand yourself within that realm, within
Hmm.
that target market. Yes. So
Yeah,
true.
and then when what you don't want to do is have to get new clients all the time, right? And so if you're doing a great job with that niche market like you're talking about,
Yeah.
that's a repeat client. They're going to keep coming back to you. And then referrals, oftentimes, especially in small business, is what makes that business grow. And so a pleased customer who you're doing a great job with rather than the you
Yeah.
can kind of do the thing that, you know, you're going to lose out to a specialized person in that situation.
I love what you were just talking about with the project management, because it sparked me to share with you that, that's why I transitioned away from being a virtual assistant, because I was always needing more clients and I was burned out because all I was doing was implementing all these strategies that I had learned for my own business, implementing that for all the clients that I was working with. I was so burned out. I wasn't sleeping at night. I was just always in this hamster wheel. And so that I finally was like, I don't want to be the one doing the work. I want to teach what they should be doing and
Hmm.
them hire a VA that will be happy doing that. That's not my thing anymore. But I had learned enough in growing my own business and my own experience. And I always say, I felt like I was given like a 5,000 piece jigsaw puzzle when I started a business with no box top, right? Try to figure out the picture, right? So I spent years figuring out what puzzle pieces I needed, and I figured out how to put them together in the right order. And that's what I teach. That's how I coach. Is like, if you can't do this until you do this. You can't fill in the middle of the puzzle until you've got the edges, right?
Right. Well, one time I walked into a room as a child and my mom was putting a puzzle together with scissors.
Oh my.
And it's something that we joke about all the time that I was like, Mom, they pre-cut these pieces. They're not fitting.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother story. But yeah. Take me to where okay, so you're going through this process, you're trying things that aren't really your jam,
Yeah.
right? And then you start to discover really what is. Take me through on day one of stepping into upscale your business as the president and CEO.
Yeah, so I was actually kind of already in that space. And then I met somebody who became my client. And very soon we realized that, you know what, we should be partnering together. And I was already seeing myself as stepping away from the VA side of things already when I met him. But he ended up becoming my business partner for about 8 years. So he and I developed a program together. And so I had his expertise and my expertise. We put those competencies together into a program. And I was already starting down that path for myself. I was already in the midst of creating a roadmap, a journey, a way of getting somebody from point A to point B. But having some input from someone else, I felt it was going to really enhance what I was up to, and it did. And like I said, we were together for a long time, and created a lot of success, and was able to get lots of great feedback and testimonials. And I'm so proud of, like, on my website, I've got like over 250 testimonials. I've got 20 case studies that I've been able to put up, and about 30 more that I haven't even had time to do. My new I just hired a VA yesterday, a full-time VA. So have her like
Awesome.
put up all the rest of the case studies. But I'm really, really, really proud of what we were able to achieve together. We're no longer working together. we had a amicable departure, and we're still friends, but we decided to move in separate direction. We both had outgrown what we were doing. So I am now on another kind of journey. I'm still doing what I do. I still offer the same program and the same services, but I've also expanded, and I now have a person that I'm working with who does live virtual events. I think you met with him this week, actually, did a podcast with him. And so
I did.
we put our things together. And so he does live virtual events, and I help my clients, of course, to get their LinkedIn profile in order so that we can do some outreach, some very effective outreach. Some people call it lead generation. I hate to use those words, because I feel like most lead gen companies are not doing it in a good humanistic kind of way. And so what I teach and how I write for my clients is that human touch of, getting somebody to want to engage with you and not feel like you're hitting them with like, oh, come buy my coaching. Nobody likes that. So
That makes a lot of sense, and thank you for sharing how you've expanded
yeah,
there. And what's interesting, what I'm taking from that, from the previous targeted conversation, right?
yeah.
Rather than broadening a thing, you're not doing the virtual events, right? You've
No, just
partnered with somebody who
somebody.
is an expert in that thing. And so I think that's a great insight for our audience as well, is if you feel like, hey, I'm in my lane, I've got my target market, but I either want to do more business or I want to expand a little bit. How can I do this without completely wrecking my life or getting off target?
Yes.
Finding an incredible person who you can partner with who has a complementary target market can make you better together than apart.
That's what I say. Complementary colleagues. I love that you use that word complementary, because that's exactly what it is. And so Justin and I started working together. He was a client of mine. I was a client of his. And we were like, you know what? As we were working together, we should be doing this together, because you got the virtual event side. I've been doing this outreach for clients for many years. I did it as a VA, and I continue to do it because it's effective. So I do it for myself, and I do it for clients. And I said, you could do the virtual events, and I could help them fill those virtual events. So it's just a perfect like aha moment of
Yeah,
being able to help other people expand what they're doing. So yeah, if you've already got an offer, you're not struggling. You're like, I just need another avenue to show off my expertise for people to know, like, and trust what I do. A virtual event is a great way to do that. If you're spending 3 days with somebody in a virtual Zoom room, you're all together, there's breakout rooms, you're creating community, and you get to show off what you do so that people naturally want to convert to become your client. So that's really what I'm up to. So I've kind of upscaled and up-leveled what I'm doing, still without losing what I have built, because that's all still there. It's all built
yeah.
on a platform, and it's all good and it's proven, right? And now how can I expand what I'm up to? And so, yes, what you were just saying, I strongly recommend. I recommended it when I was working with my business partner from years ago. It's like, this is a great thing. You have two minds working towards the same thing, and it's you bring two different roles to it, and yet you're both communally moving ahead in what you do with your separate.
That's well said. And I can speak from experience. I've had my own consulting practice over the years. And, I remember people approaching me saying, John, come work for me, or I want equity of your business for us to work together. And I worked with an executive coach who was absolutely incredible and helped me so, so much. So I can speak a lot positively to the coaching side of things. But she always kind of cautioned me about giving somebody part of my company. And so, a good lesson for our audience here as well is you can have an informal partnership, right? You can have a collaborative relationship while still retaining
Yeah.
your personal brand and
Yep.
100% of your equity.
Yep.
So don't let that limit you
Yes.
in
In
partnering with other complementary colleagues. You can still retain 100% of your company while doing this.
Totally. Absolutely. We both have, and it's funny, we've both been in business the same amount of time, about since 2009 for me, about 17 and a half years for both of us. So it's interesting. So he's built what he's built. I want no no part of that. That's great. I'm joyful for him when he's doing his thing, and I've got my own thing, and that's great. And then what we're building together is real. It's fun. I will say it's, building a business can be a lonely thing, especially if you are, a solopreneur and you work at home, right? Your family may not understand what you're up to. Maybe they're
Yeah.
supportive of it, but having somebody to bounce ideas off of. Justin and I work together a lot during the day. We co-work, we stay in Zoom. We have different meetings. I was just on a business meeting. He was on a business meeting today. We have different schedules, different things, but in between times, we're in Zoom, we're building our next virtual event. We're strategizing on how we're going to position the next thing we're doing. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. It makes the day a lot less kind of lonely, if you will. Not that I
Absolutely.
like to think about being lonely, but but it's not. Yeah.
Yeah, that collaborative energy is so important, especially when you're a solopreneur.
Yeah.
And whether you're celebrating your wins or you're going through a tougher day, having another person, even that just energy of like two people are ambitious and grinding and going for it. It's a lot easier to get up in the morning and push through than when you're just looking at yourself in the mirror and wondering
Yeah.
when's the phone going to ring.
Yeah.
Um, I have a couple questions for you specifically
Yeah.
on the coaching side of things for our listeners who are, whether they're wanting to become a business coach or they've started a business coaching business already. Share some of the common mistakes
Mhm.
that early young business coaches are making that you're seeing.
Yeah. So target market is the first one. We've already talked about that. The other thing is coaching, charging. What are you charging? Are you charging enough? Have you figured out what your capacity is? Can you serve, how many clients can you serve well and make your money, right? So a lot of times when I ask people, well, what do you want to be making? Let's work backwards from what you want to make. And a lot of times when I talk to people in a consultation, they're like, well, I want to make this large amount of money. And then I ask them what do they charge? And
Yeah,
those,
I want to make that amount too. But
and what you're charging now is not going to get you there unless you want to work with 1,000 clients. Can you attract 1,000 clients? Can you, so thinking about all those things. And so I always suggest, my biggest thing is don't charge by the hour. I see that a lot. I see, I charge whatever the amount is. I've seen it anywhere from 150 to 600, but if you're charging by the hour, you're trading dollars for time. You really want to be in a place where you're charging for your unique roadmap, as I like to call it, your
mm,
signature solution. So just being able to say, you're going to pay me for my time is not even valuable to the person that you're suggesting it to. So if you come to them and you say, I'm going to take you from here to here, this is the journey I'm going to take you on. I help people develop you can call it a program, a course, whatever you want to call it, or just a journey. It doesn't have to be anything concrete, but the steps and the phases that you take somebody through to get them from point A to point B. And the other thing I see too is leaning on the certifications, right? So many coaches get certified, and nothing wrong with that. Please know I'm not, degrading anybody who does go down the certification route, but just be careful with that. I always suggest not to lead with that. It's fine that you have it. I always tell people, like, nobody cares about your certifications or your MBA or anything like that until they know how you can help them. So those are tools in your toolbox. They are not the thing that's going to actually sell your service. And I'll give you my spiel about that. And that is, so many people are certified in the same thing that you're certified in. So if you're leading with that, if you are forgive me, I'm going to name drop here. If you're Tony Robbins certified, right? Somebody can go on LinkedIn and search Tony Robbins certified coaches, and there's going to be probably several million that come up. So then you're competing on price. Well, this person charges this, and you have the same certification. Why should I work with you and pay you more? So I always say, don't lead with that. It's fine that you have it. Like I said, I'm not going to say that you shouldn't get certified. That's not what I'm saying. But if you're leaning on that and expecting that to bring the clients in, with some exceptions, there are some coaching modalities that would require you to have a certain certification. So that aside, yeah. So I would just say that would be a big thing as well.
yeah, so it's more on the value that you are providing, what you're specifically helping people accomplish, rather than
Yeah.
I have these letters and acronyms next to my name.
Yes. Yes. And you want to stand out. You want to be unique. What makes you different? Your roadmap. Nobody has your roadmap. If you create it right, it's going to be like, I can't wait to go on that journey. That sounds really cool. If you develop it in a good way, yeah.
Yeah, how are you differentiating, right?
Yeah.
Um, I'm wondering here because business coaching is one of those industries that you can and maybe I'm not using the exact terminology so forgive me. I don't mean to offend anybody who's listening, but you don't need a lot to start it from the standpoint like I could just today create an LLC, create a website, and all of a sudden I'm a business coach, right? I mean, it's kind of like getting your real estate license, right? Like I guess what I want to say is the barrier to entry is low,
Yes.
right? And
True.
so that can result in a lot of people getting into this industry who should not be in the industry or shouldn't be in it yet. If I am listening to this episode and I'm considering becoming a business coach, what do I need to have prepared or what should I have accomplished or what should I have done before I hang my shingle?
So that's an interesting question. I love it because I always ask people when I consult with them, I say, what were you doing before you were a coach? Most people did not get birthed into the coaching industry. They came from corporate at some level.
Mm-hmm.
And usually that's where I say, because when they're struggling with their target market, I will always ask that question. And I would say, what have you done in your career journey that you could now, like, if you want to say mentor somebody through what you went through? And I'll just give you a couple of examples so that this resonates.
Yeah.
So I had a client who wanted to be a life coach for men. And I said, well, men is a big target market. How are you yourself to 50% of the population? And so I asked him that question, what were you doing before? And he said he was a product manager for a software company. Okay. Have you ever thought about maybe using that as your target market? And he tried it on and he's like, yeah, because I've walked in their shoes. I know what they're going through. I can speak to them. Fantastic. Well, guess what? Fast forward. Now he's no longer a life coach for men. He is a career coach for product managers in the software industry. That is what he does.
Very niche.
Very niche. So yeah, if you look at your life history, I had another client who she helps. She was a marriage coach for men. Okay, men, again, very big target market. How do we know if they're married? LinkedIn does not give you those kind of demographics, right? So I also asked her the same question. She said she knows a lot about the engineering industry, not because she was an engineer, but her husband was, her sister-in-law was, and her mother-in-law had been, or her father-in-law, I can't remember. But she spoke their language. She understood their mindset. And so we tried that on. And through that, again, through the messaging I helped her to create, to be able to go to people in the engineering field and tap them on the shoulder and just kind of let them know what she does. And, oh, by the way, this is what I do. And then they could say, I'm not married, or I'm married, or I have a friend that could use your help, right? But these were engineers, right? Good target market for her. But if you can't just men and go, are you married? Do you need help in your marriage? Right? It's hard to market that way.
That's a good point, is really the discoverability of the target market, right?
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, so we've identified our target markets. We understand how we can get started. And then once we're in this business, how are you consulting coaches on growing that business beyond just that, let's say, first year and first couple clients?
Of course, I'm going to say you need to hire yourself a coach. Every coach should have a coach. And I do find that a lot do. I mean, this industry has grown so much since 2009, since I've been in it. So there's so many coaches, it's almost saturated, but don't let that scare you. Like I said, if you're unique and you have something, you have a way of taking somebody from point A to point B, that's a unique journey, you will get clients. But I also want to suggest, I talk about posting and praying, right? So everybody tells you, oh, you've got to be out there. You've got to put yourself out on social media and all of that. And I know I really don't even like social media. In fact, I have Instagram. I don't even know how to log into it. I don't use it. I have stuff going out from my VA, but I'm like, I don't even want to deal with that.
So I shouldn't hire you as a coach to coach my social media. is what you're telling me.
I would tell you what to do with your social media. And
But
I would
you're not an Instagram coach.
No, I'm not an Instagram. I'm a LinkedIn coach. I would consider myself a LinkedIn. Justin calls
There
me
you go.
LinkedIn queen because I know very much how to market on LinkedIn. It's my favorite playground.
Ooh, I want to get into that, but yeah, keep going.
Anybody can
Yeah.
have a really successful business just using LinkedIn. I don't like Facebook. I've been there for many years. I think I've gotten one client from it, and they didn't want to pay. It was really a struggle. So LinkedIn are professional people. They're looking for help, but they're not necessarily searching for it. And that's the thing. So it's a different kind of marketing, because we're hoping on Facebook, like, people are looking for a coach. So you want to be there, you want to be posting because you hope they find you. LinkedIn is a whole different thing. They're doing their jobs. They're not there to look for a coach. But if you come to them and you start to, and I don't want to give away all my secrets here, but I've given a couple of tips just in what I just said about my previous clients. There are ways that you can do this that's not like, hey, come buy my coaching, right? You've got to build relationships with people. And LinkedIn is a great place to do that. So again, the posting and praying, like everybody tells you, you need to be posting, and you do, you should be visible. I definitely feel that you should be an authority. We run authority summer camp, so I like to use that word. You should be an authority in what you do. And that should be clear. So if somebody were to receive a message from you and then they go look at your LinkedIn profile, it should show you off as that authority in your space.
Thought leadership,
exactly. Be the Tony Robbins of you, right? Put yourself out there. But don't expect that people are going to see your posts. They are not. I hate to tell you. So you could I talked to lots of people who are like, I've been posting and I get nothing. I get no clients. And I'm like, well, you need to let people know that you've been, like, there's ways to do this. Again, I've got all the secrets and I can help you to do that. But if you're not telling people that you're posting, you're not sharing your content, and I mean personally sharing it, and I don't mean going one-to-one, but there are ways, but you have to be. The other thing I would say on the same topic, you've got to be growing your audience. If you've got 48 people that you're connected with on LinkedIn, it's going to be really hard. So you should be doing everything you can to continue to grow your audience with your target market, not just anybody with a pulse and a credit card.
Good point. I've got a question for you. So a lot of people, we're getting invites all the time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And comes from a wide variety. What is your advice on, if I get an invite, should I accept everybody who is trying to connect with me, or should I be very specific to my target market there?
So, I mean, first of all, I'm a coach, so I know exactly what you're talking about. I get hit with 20 messages a day, LinkedIn request to connect. And I always look at their headline, which is right there in the request to connect. It tells you what they do. If it says anything like, I help coaches, I help you get leads, I don't accept them. I don't want those people littering, because I know what's coming next. I know exactly the message you're going to send is, hey.
It's the AI campaign that's just going to be like, hey, are you busy? I know you're busy.
Now,
hey, are you sure?
And to be honest with you, I do exactly the same thing, but I do it in a very effective, again, human way. It's the way that you approach somebody. People forget to be human in this space. We think we've got to be a marketer. We've got to be, always marketing. We got to go to people, hey, I do this. You want to buy it? Right? And that's not the way to approach somebody. So when somebody does it to me, I don't even accept the connection request. I'm not open to hearing what you have to offer. Now, my profile also says I help coaches, right? But I get all the time, and I have people that request to connect to me who are my target market. And the reason is they see my content. And the reason is because I've been growing my audience. I've hit the limit. I've actually had to remove connections, because you can only have 30,000 connections on LinkedIn, and I've hit that limit at least 3 times. I've had to I
had no idea.
Clean that out. Yeah.
I want to find out that turns out to be true, but I'm at a measly 12,000 currently.
Okay,
so we're working on it. We're working on it.
That's not bad, because I deal with a lot of people who have 48 and 200, and then I also meet people like you around the 12,000 mark. Then I'm promoting virtual events, because then I feel like they've already reached some level of success. Therefore, they would be more likely to want to work with us on the event side of things. If I see someone with 48 connections and I'm like, I can help them with what I do specifically, which is, help them with that, building that relationship with their target market. Now, I also want to say a very important caveat is my audience is hip to what I would be doing. So they would go, "Oh, she helps coaches. I'm not connecting with her because I know she's going to hit me with buy my program."
Sure.
But your target, now I say you, I mean your audience, your target market is not getting hit with those messages like you are. Just know that. Like if you were to reach out to your, let's say it's product manager in the software industry, and you say, "Hey, want to get to know you. Hey, I was a product manager too. I get, don't you hate it when this happens in your line of work? Because I've been there, I get it." And you have those kind of conversations. And then you say, "Hey, by the way, I specialize in helping people like you. Would you be interested in getting on a call?" That's a whole different thing. And they're not getting hit with those. So I know people, my clients always say to me, "I don't want to spam people." And I'm like, well, I'm not talking about spamming them. I'm talking about actually creating a relationship with them where they want to hear from you, where they're not like this, "Stop, don't come at me," you know?
Yeah, and I think it's a good thing to remember too, is it's kind of like in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. And what I mean by that is in the land of spam,
Yeah.
the human touch
Yep.
really resonates, right? And so yeah, people are getting hit all the time. I get a gazillion messages on LinkedIn every single day.
Yeah.
And but when somebody reaches out to me with exactly what you're talking about, Jamie, that human touch, oh,
Yeah. There's
now I'm drawn in because it's differentiated from everything else that people are hitting me. And it's so nice to hear from that type of person too, right? It's like, oh, good. It's
yeah.
not all bots here. There's some humans.
I've had almost every client I've ever gotten is because of the way that I approach people on LinkedIn. 100% of my business come from LinkedIn. 100%. Since
Wow.
2015, I've been doing this process. And people tell me all the time that the reason that they're even engaging with me in the first place is that there was, even though they get lots of messages that they would say would feel similar, there was something different about the way you approached me. There's something different about the way that you're engaging with me. And I like that. So I always say to people in our trainings and in my consults, all of it, be a good human. This is not hard. This is, you have to think about marketing just like you would think about dealing with anybody on a street corner. When people say, "I'm afraid to put myself out there," well, if you were in an elevator with someone and they said hello to you, wouldn't you respond to them like a good human? You just have to think of marketing like that. And then it feels a lot better. It just feels better and you feel good. And when somebody comes to you, and I had a lady, I just got to quote this. I think it was Tuesday this week. She got one of my, actually, she's been getting my messages for a little while. And that's what I find too, is sometimes people are not ready. It's the readiness factor that I talk about. They're not always ready at that time. But she's been seeing my content and she's been getting my messages. So the authority space and then the visibility
Hmm.
of the messaging. And she said to me, "I have to tell you, I love everything you're putting out there. You're dropping some gems that I really need to learn from you. When can we meet?" That
Wow.
that's what you want. I was so happy to get that. I've gotten a couple messages like that just this week, and I'm like, that feels so good. That feels good that they feel good in my presence. They're not feeling like I am pulling or selling or pushing myself on them or anything like that. They're grateful that I'm, caring enough to reach out. And I ask questions. I don't just go, "Hey, here I am." I'm like, "Tell me about you." I ask specific questions. I look at their profile. I'm very diligent about being that good human because I don't ever want to come across as that. And if someone says, "No, thank you, I'm not, please don't send me anymore," fine. And I always wish them all the best. I don't just go, "Well, F you." I'm like, I'm like, "No problem. I wish you all the best." And, OPS, if you're interested, if you do want to stay connected to me, I have this great LinkedIn newsletter. You might want to subscribe to it. And they do because they're not mad at me. They just are not
Yeah.
interested in what I've got. So,
Yeah, and sometimes it's just the timing, right? A lot of times a no is really a not yet, right?
yeah,
And so if your message to so and so, they might just not be in the right place in their career to be able to take that step to become your client, to be coached by you. But also maybe you're planting that seed where you're saying, hey, you know what? Um, Start to think about it and like, wait, this person reached out to me. Maybe I'm able to take this next step. Well, I'm really excited about learning more from you, but before we get into the next set of learnings, let's take a moment to listen to a message from our sponsor, Sphere Rocket.
Business owners and entrepreneurs will place a proven executive assistant VA for just $4 to $8 an hour, and if they don't perform, you don't pay. Imagine freeing up 20 plus hours a week by someone handling your most time-consuming tasks like admin work, managing emails, scheduling meetings, and so much more. This one hire could transform your productivity and give you back the time you need to focus on growing your business. At Sphere Rocket VA, we make this possible in as little as 7 days. We'll place a proven executive assistant VA in your business for just $4 to $8 an hour, and your VA will take over day-to-day administrative tasks, help manage your email and calendar, follow up with past clients, giving you back 20 plus hours a week so you can increase your sales and even enjoy more personal time. And here's the best part. If they don't give you back 20 plus hours a week in the first month, you don't pay Sphere Rocket a dime. We've done this for thousands of business owners, and now it's your turn to see the results. Click the link around this video to schedule a demo and discover how this one hire can completely change how you run your business. Remember, if within 45 days the VA doesn't perform, you don't pay.
All right, Jaimie, so we've talked about a number of different things throughout this episode. We've talked about identifying your target market, proper pricing, helping people with what you have done, not leaning too much on those certifications or those MBAs, and how to be a kind human reaching out through LinkedIn. I'd love to get a few personal lessons here. And so one question I love to ask my guests, it's wonderful talking about our successes and all that we've achieved, but very often it's what seems like the failures that teach us the greatest lessons. I'm curious, you could take this personally, you could take this in previous careers or your current business.
No.
What was a moment where it felt like a failure at the time, and maybe it was, but it taught you one of the most important lessons that you've learned so far?
I mean, for me, I think it goes back to the resisting the target market. I wish I had done that much. I wish I had embraced that concept much sooner. Yeah, and something else was just coming to my mind, and it just went out of my head. It'll come back to me, but yeah, I think it was that.
Well, and so what was that effect then when you weren't as targeted as you should have been?
So the thing was, I was at the time, I thought, you know what? We talked about having a website and just thinking people would flock to it. And I started to pay for SEO. That was one mistake I made. I was like, I need SEO. And at the time, VAs were so new. First of all, that was another problem for me, is that nobody even knew what a VA was when I started. Imagine that. Now, you just had a commercial about a VA. I'm laughing because I'm like, they're everywhere now. Good thing I got out. But I got SEO because I thought, I first have to explain to people what I do and then try to get their business. And that was really challenging. It was like, what do you do? I don't get it. Are you Siri? I don't understand. So anyway, I paid for SEO for a few months, a lot of money, and my calendar was full. It worked beautifully. So I'm just going to say, I'm going to tell you the good part of that, which is that my calendar was full. Now, here's the bad part. Here's the lesson I learned, is that my calendar was full of people who were just broke and just really could not afford what I offered, no matter how little I charged. So the SEO worked, but it wasn't. It actually ended up being a real big waste of money because the people on my calendar were just not really qualified well. So a big learning lesson for me, and the thing that really transitioned my business quite a bit as a VA and continues on, is a needs assessment. Like getting to know somebody. What are their needs before they even get on your calendar? Are they a fit? Is there alignment in what they need and what I offer? And part of that process, and there's a little process that I teach, is by answering some very specific and pointed questions, they know that you're the one that can help them. And you know how you can now conduct your consultation because you can refer back to those things.
Great point.
That was a very big one. And then another one that was the thing that was in my mind and went out at the same time, pricing on a website. So I'm going to give this as another tip. I always suggest, and I always like to frame this up by saying this is just an opinion and it's my own experience. You asked about my experience, so I'll give you that. When I had pricing on my website, my calendar was empty. because people came and got what they wanted. They wanted to know what I charged. And when I see pricing on a website, I always ask people, potential clients in a consultation, I'll say, how many people have gone to your website and swiped their debit card and bought your program? And 100% of the time they say nobody ever has.
Right.
So that tells us something. And it proves my point that I'm about to share, which is that people make judgments. So if your price is what somebody would consider affordable, reasonable, they're like, I want to do it, but I don't think it's going to be good. It's too affordable. I'm worried. Another person will see that same price, different person, and they'll go, who does she think she is charging that? And they click off your site. So both people have left your site and they've never even given you time on your calendar.
To add to that, you haven't had the opportunity to add the context or to answer what is the value that you're providing, or to, you might have a meeting with this person like, oh, I love the way she listens to me.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, wow. His or her experience really lines up. It turns out, oh, I didn't realize that about this person. Or, oh, I feel just this connection with this person. And you're able to sell them more effectively, right?
That's right.
I think a lot of times, people without a lot of sales experience, a mistake that's made is giving everybody all the information at once.
Yes.
And you made the great point of with your website, right? You're like, if you go to my website and everything you want to know about me, from what I offer to how much it costs, you don't need to ask me any questions.
Exactly. I've never heard it said that way, but you're right. If you give everything away there, what do they need to talk to you about? Exactly. They're like, they've already made their decision. So I always tell people, and it's a big light bulb moment for people when I ask them that question, how many people have gone to your site and actually maybe called you or maybe scheduled the call and said, I'm ready. I now know the price. Can I give you my credit card? They don't. And it's never happened to me, and it's never happened to the people I've met with. So yeah. I had another interesting I want to share with you, that it was last week. I had a guy, I keep notes on all the people I've ever met with. And like I said, the readiness factor. So I had connected with him many years ago. We've had dialogue back and forth. He did not sign up to work with me. In fact, he had unsubscribed from my website, from my newsletter at one point. He wished me a happy birthday a few months ago. And I always tell this real quick. I dread my birthday on LinkedIn. I love my birthday, but on LinkedIn, I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to get hit with 500 happy birthday messages. And being the good human that I try to be, I like to say thank you to everybody. And so it could take me 3 weeks to get through. I've got 30,000 connections, so it's going to take me a long time. Not that they all are wishing that to me, but it's probably 500 people that do wish me happy birthday. So I decided I'm going to do something fun this time. I'm going to thank them for wishing me a happy birthday, and I'm going to invite them to our event that's coming up. Guess what? I had a whole bunch of people sign up for our event just because I responded to their being a good human by being a good human. Yeah. This gentleman that I was sharing about met with myself and Justin about a week before our event, but he had wished me a happy birthday. So he had signed up because I gave him the free link, and he met with Justin and I, and he said, I'm going to come to your event and see how it goes, because I might want to do that. Well, he came to day one. He didn't stay. It was a 3-day event. He came for like 5 minutes, but he loved the experience of coming into the room, because we have like Justin creates this really amazing experience. And he wrote me the day it ended, and he said, when can I meet with you guys? Because I definitely want to work with you. I love just that experience. So we met with him yesterday, and I think he's on a call with Justin right now and becoming a client. So I just wanted to share that as like, just give somebody a pink spoon taste of what you do, and that can work out as well. That's why a virtual event is so effective, is you're showing yourself in action. That's a great way to sell your coaching. So little plug for our event service. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, that's a great segue for my next question. It was just simply for those who are listening and watching, who are thinking, wow, listen to all these insights from Jaimie. I want to learn more, or I'm interested in being coached myself. How can they get a hold of you?
Yeah. So, well, they can go to my LinkedIn profile. But if we're not giving that out, you can go to upscaleyourbusiness.com. You can go to upscaleyourleads.com. Both of those will get you to me. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, I just want to thank you for all of your time today. I mean, I'm rapidly taking notes over here. I know the audience is going to learn a ton from this episode. So thank you, Jaimie, for joining me today on the Leverage Podcast.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.